Anything that could exist actually already exists. Maybe we just haven't given it a name, or it hasn't come up in the physical world yet. But everything that could be does already exist in infinite potential. This is Mindset by Natalia, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics. I nerd out on this stuff. It's everything to do with quantum physics. If you've never heard of the term quantum physics, buckle up because you're in for a ride. Your mind is going to be blown after this video. So if I were to describe quantum physics in just one sentence, it would be everything is energy. Everything in the world, everything we can see, everything with our five senses and everything beyond, everything comes down to energy. Let's take a trip back to science class in middle school or in high school. When you went to science, you studied like molecular biology, you studied, what makes up our human bodies, right? You learned about molecules and atoms and all these things that make up our physical bodies. When we break down what our bodies are actually made of, we say atoms, right? The atoms, as we know, also have so much more inside of them, right? So inside of an atom, what is there actually? Now stay with me on this. If we take an atom and we break that down, what do we get? Subatomic particles, things that make up our living universe. If you were to break these elements down all the way down, what you would realize and you would find is that 99.999% of these things are energy. And that means that only 0.001% is actual physical matter, meaning we live in an overly abundant, energetic, and frequent world. Frequent meaning frequency. From this, we can also say that all energy has an associated frequency. Everything in the world has a frequency. Things from plants, things to a car, things to flowers, everything has a frequency attached to it. Another way of saying frequency would be a vibration. So everything in our planet, everything outside in the universe has an attached frequency or vibration. Within quantum physics, there's something also called the quantum field. The quantum field where every possibility, everything that ever could be, does exist in this field of energy. So I like to think of this, if anyone is a Harry Potter fan, I think this will resonate with you. Think about the room of requirement in Harry Potter, where anything and everything could appear in the room of requirement when someone calls to it or when someone requests it. Think of the quantum field like this. Everything that could exist does already exist in the quantum field, and everything that we do as human beings is choose what we desire from that quantum field. I hear so many people talk about creating their own lives, creating things, making them from scratch, but really, we didn't create anything. The universe and God actually has created everything that there is. We have simply chosen whatever it is that we have in our reality. God and the universe have already created everything that exists in our world. Even people that created things or people that were inventors in here in our planet, people that have invented things, people have been divinely inspired to create those things because those things already existed. Think about how Isaac Newton created this term of gravity. Before Isaac Newton, gravity already existed, but there had just never been research or scientific evidence to prove it until he came along. So this is the same thing. Anything that could exist actually already exists. Maybe we just haven't given it a name, or it hasn't come up in the physical world yet. But everything that could be does already exist in infinite potential. So let's go back into the creation of how everything came to be. From nothing emerged something, some form of movement, some form of frequency. That original frequency that happened in nothingness, in the void, is what we refer to as God, creator, a higher spirit, the universe, whatever it is that you call it. That is when that originally formed, right? From that first ripple, everything after it followed with the original creator in mind. So think of God and the universe as the original ripple that created all the millions and billions of ripples after, from where you and I emerged. This is why people say things like we are one with God, because since the universe created us out of their own vibration and frequency, we are one with that. We are of that same current that was created in the original form. The universe is constantly expanding. Outside of time, out of what we as humans can perceive, the universe grows double, triple at every possible second. At every point, it grows and grows and grows more than it was before. That's why when we think about space, there's never going to be a time when we finish looking at the universe. The universe is ever expanding. There will never be a time when we as humans will get to the end of the universe, because that simply does not exist. Everything from which is, everything that was 2 seconds ago has already tripled and multiplied into more. That's why the universe is constantly expanding scientifically, but also spiritually and emotionally. Another trippy thing that quantum physics supports is this idea that everything is happening at the same time in different dimensions. So we have been told that we're just here on this earth, but really we are multidimensional beings. That's why so many faiths, so many philosophies, and so many cultures from the past have always talked about an afterlife or something else, something spiritual that we can't really see. We can't experience it with our five senses here on this earth, but it exists. It's everywhere all around us. So think of every possible possibility actually happening, but you are simply tapping into only one that you experience in this world. So you and I are living in parallel realities where different forms of us exist that make different choices with our lives. That's why we can also tap into those using techniques and things like manifestation and meditation. We can actually bring those things into the reality that we experience on this earth. I know that that was a lot, but I just love thinking about this stuff. Again, I could keep talking about it all day. If you all have any questions about it, leave it down below. I know that it's a lot. It's very science meets spirituality, which I just love. I love how those two can coincide, because honestly, sometimes we see spiritual as this very emotional, intuitional thing we can't explain. In science, we see it as a much more logical, very straight, stoic kind of thing. But it's like, what happens when those two share a world together? What happens when both spirituality and science come together to form the world that we live in? So with all that being said, thank you for watching today's video, and I will see you next Friday. Bye!